Gemma Willans, Kuper Sotheby, just recently, right?
Yes.
And
October.
the Lewis team.
That is correct.
Tried to remember.
Kirk Lewis.
Try to make sure you keep that mic within like
Okay.
6 to 8 inches from you.
So
You
I
can
can't
move the
lounge
mic
then?
to you. Oh, you
Okay,
can definitely
alright.
lounge. Just
Okay.
move the mic closer to you.
Okay, there you go.
Perfect.
All right.
So Gemma and I connected, gosh, probably 4 years ago. And you were with Realty Austin at the time. And before that, you were with JB Goodwin, right?
Hindsight. No. I've moved around quite a bit.
Well, tell us how it all started.
So I started with JB Goodwin because JB Goodwin would take a new agent.
Okay.
Didn't stay there too long. Wasn't really my cup of tea. So then I went with Hindsight 2020. I was there for a year or so and then moved, which I really enjoyed there, actually. It's very much about, you have to be the best you to be able to help, help any clients. But I needed to be with like a luxury broker because of the area that I was interested in settling in and the neighborhood that I live in. So I moved to Levy Property, which is a boutique brokerage in Tarrytown. And from there, I went to Realty Austin, which is when I met you.
Yeah. So there's been some evolution of your real estate career.
There has, yes.
And now moving to the Lewis Group, I've seen the photos. I've seen the group. Looks like a fun bunch.
Yeah.
What what was the why behind the move to the Lewis Group at this time?
So I always felt like I wanted to be part of a group.
Okay.
Because just the camaraderie, just the being in the mix of it constantly, when you're by yourself, sometimes it's hard to get motivated and I was experiencing that. But I didn't just want to move to any group. And so I took my time.
What was one of the things that stood out about the Lewis Group that kind of made you make the jump?
Kirk Lewis.
Okay.
He's in Elite 25. He's an amazing agent. You've got Joe in there too. He's also Elite 25. They've got just a
shout out to Kirk and Joe.
Yeah, sure. Hi guys. And also the whole team are really knowledgeable and being surrounded by agents that are actually working and successful is what I wanted. So I don't want to move anymore. Like I feel like I'm at the place I need to be to get where I want to go.
Well, you know what they say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah, I just learned that a bit late in life.
That's all right.
So eventually.
So, going kind of taking a few steps back, obviously we want to know more about Gemma, not just the real estate agent, but who she is. I think everybody who's probably going to listen to this podcast will notice just a little bit of an accent. So Can you tell us where you're from? I'm
from London. Well, I'm actually from Suffolk, which is outside London, but moved to London as soon as I could, from a small town. Not Australian, which I get accused of being far too often. Am I looking at this camera or at you?
You're looking at me. We're having a conversation, right?
Okay, I don't know what's going on.
I don't want you to feel that you have to stare into a camera and you're being,
Okay. So I moved to London when I was about 18 and moved to the US mid to late 30s.
Do they do real estate similarly in London as they do here? Is it completely different?
No, it's completely different. There's no buyer agent.
Okay. There's but there are real estate agents that are selling homes?
Yeah.
What are some of the major differences, and are any of them like differences that you think would be like should be done here?
Well, I don't really know because honestly, I didn't buy a house.
Okay.
When I was there, I was married. My husband dealt with all of that.
All
so
right.
I don't know, but we don't need to worry.
Everybody needs a starter husband. Okay.
Yes, I had a starter husband.
Yep.
So I didn't really go through that process. He was also in real estate, so that's why he dealt with all
okay.
that. But I know that there's no buyer agents, so it all goes to the listing side. But, I haven't been there for so long.
Yeah.
I've been living here for 13 years now, 14 years.
Not even to visit?
Yeah, actually I'm going back on Friday to visit, but you just forget, I forget what it's like there and how things work there. It's just I'm becoming more American.
Uh-oh.
I know.
That sounds awful.
I'm fighting it.
So you make it to the States, and you said, what, when you were 30?
No.
In your 30s?
In my 30s. I was 37.
Okay.
I think.
Starting doing real estate. We've talked about the brokerages. We know how we ended up at Lewis Group. So one of the things when I have new agents on here, I'm typically, this podcast is designed to create content not only for the agent to put out for potential buyers and sellers that maybe want to troll you, right?
Uh-huh.
They don't want to, they want to know a little bit about you without having to like get on the phone and have you do your pitch.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it. And then the other part of it is there's a entrepreneurial part to this where I look at it with agents and kind of have conversations so that other agents can see what they're doing to generate new business. So one of the questions that I typically ask is there either side of the transaction that you prefer? In other words, do you prefer buy-side transactions? Do you prefer listings? I know every agent's like, oh, I want both. I'll do either. But is there one that you enjoy more than the other?
Typically the buying side.
What about it that do you enjoy so much?
I feel like buyers are more appreciative.
Okay.
I feel like when you're working with sellers, they have expectations that aren't always realistic and trying to manage those expectations. But I feel buyers are just easier to work with. They kind of, in my experience, have been easier to guide and take advice from, or be given advice to.
Kind of more of just a feel good.
Yeah, and at the end of it, like they've got what they want, and when you're working with a seller, they may not have what they want, they may not have had the price that they want, and so they may be that disappointment. But I mean, I've had good and bad experiences with both, obviously, but I prefer buyers.
It's interesting to hear that answer because, most of the time people are like, oh, if they say buyers, it's because of, the feel good and so on and so forth. But I never thought about the seller side of things where I feel like I can totally see how every seller, no matter what, even if you sell their house for over asking, all they really want is more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I've done that. I've sold something for over asking, a lot over asking, in a market where we didn't think that was going to happen. And the whole transaction should have been a breeze and fabulous for them, but there was just constant complaints about, you're right, they wanted more. Well, maybe it should have been more. It just feels unable to satisfy sometimes.
Is that like a case-by-case scenario? Is that like a, is it market specific, or what are your thoughts? Or is it just across the board?
No, I wouldn't say it's market specific. It just depends on the. It just depends.
Depends on the client.
It depends on the client.
Like a case by case.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with buyers, I mean, what are you doing currently, and what has worked for you, or maybe what hasn't worked for you in terms of generating new business on getting new buyers?
Well, I work purely by referral.
Okay.
So it's just keeping up with all my clients, anyone I've done any work with or helped in any way, shape, or form.
What are some of the things you're doing just outside of keeping up? I mean, can we unpack that a little bit?
So I just make calls and meet up and note cards and the whole Ninja 9.
Okay.
Which I'm not very ninja-ish at.
No?
No, I mean, I could do better at that. But, it's just keeping in touch. Just keeping in touch and being valuable and resourceful. And, whenever I get that call about someone needs a plumber, I'm able to provide that. And just being at the top of their mind when it comes to real estate. And that's hard because, people are fickle and can easily forget. And then, meet a new realtor and that's now their new favorite person. And so it's constantly having to be at top of mind.
I gotcha.
Which I'm not great at doing that. Like, I need to be better at that.
It's been a common theme, I mean, this podcast has been doing its thing for a little over a year and a half. And the common theme over the last 90 days has been a lot more. I mean, don't get me wrong. People are always saying, hey, following up with my sphere, connecting with past clients, being top of mind, but it seems to be way more predominant now than what I was hearing, in the past. And the one thing that I've had some pretty heavy hitting agents on here that run teams and everything along those lines. And the saying of the last 90 days is you can't really sell real estate to anybody in regards to like people that you don't know. So getting to know as many people as possible is really, really what I'm seeing a lot of people are doing. So, it's not only following up with the past clients, going to the kids' birthdays, meeting friends of friends and all of that, and really just, I don't know if that's networking, but because, you're just meeting individuals, but just constantly trying to meet as many people as you possibly can and have just organic conversations.
Yeah. And it's hard to do that sometimes without feeling, inauthentic. And I really struggle with that because I'm like, I can't be fake. I can't, I don't want to just do something for my own personal gain. And I'm actually an introvert, so it's kind of hard for me to get out there and network. I mean, I'm much better in smaller groups than, out in a big party work in the room. Like, that's not really how I roll. I'm better at sort of the smaller, intimate relationships. So that for that, can be a challenge, but I'm one-on-one. I'm pretty good.
I can see that. I mean, as far as the kind of introvert and like you said, working a room and because at the end of the day, I wouldn't think that there's anything inauthentic about you wanting to be, present or anything like that for a past client's, like I said, like birthday or kid's birthday or housewarming party. But I like that you mentioned, you feel like you do a lot better when it's one-to-one. And that is another thing that I sometimes feel like people are amiss at, is that they don't want to go to that party with a lot of people because of what you just said. They feel like they're being inauthentic, but the people who I've talked to that are really, really successful about getting in front of multiple amounts of people, they're not going to the party with the intention of like talking about real estate, saying, hey, I'm Gemma, I'm a real estate agent, let me help you buy or sell a home.
Right.
It's more about them connecting and then having brief conversations and then inviting those people out one-to-one to just say, hey, I'm always trying to meet new people. I'm always trying to make new friends. And to your point, the more people you meet, the bigger not only, sphere of influence you have, but you've kind of said, hey, if someone needs a plumber or a roofer or anything along those lines, meeting more people is going to just open up more quality referral partners that you have that you can refer business out to. So if you would have asked me a year ago what I'm seeing the majority of agents were doing, again, there was a multitude of answers, but I was not hearing what we're talking about as much as I am hearing it right now. And I think that the main reason for that being is just that, finding buyers and sellers is a little more difficult than it's been over the last couple of years. And I think for anyone, buying or selling a home with somebody that you kind of know and you like is way cooler than like, dealing with a real estate agent who might even be like a top producer or anything like that. But if you don't know them then it is kind of inauthentic,
and
right?
you don't gel, and they don't have time for you because they've got so much work, that they can't give you the one-on-one. Like that's I always want to be able to be available. I mean, there boundaries have to be set, but I always want to be able to give everything I can to a transaction. Like they're my favorite family member.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that when I refer agents, which unfortunately is not as much as I would like to be able to, but 9 times out of 10, when I find somebody, they already have a real estate agent that they love, because I'm the boogeyman, the lender. I'm like the last one they really want to talk to. And when I'm sitting with clients who don't have a real estate agent, I say, listen, I would be happy to give you some names of some individuals that I know are going to be top-notch agents. Every single person that I will refer out is a 10 out of 10. However, I say I cannot stress this enough. It is important that you also like the person. So, hypothetically, if I were to say, hey, call this guy here, I assure you from a technical standpoint, they're a 10 out of 10. But if you're not feeling that, like, move on to the next agent that I might refer out because again, they're all going to have the experience that you need to have like a
Right.
5-star experience, but
You got to be able to gel. You're having a really intense relationship for at least 30 days.
Absolutely.
So
usually longer. But
yeah,
yes,
usually longer.
I mean, especially in this market,
Yeah.
with the buyers, they're taking a little longer to buy. What's average days on market now? Isn't it something like 65 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, I mean, chances are you're probably going to spend more like 90 to 100 days at least.
Yeah, except for the clients I'm working with right now, they were so fast. I mean, that's like so rare. Like they knew what they
Are
wanted.
you just lucky, or is it maybe something you're doing?
I don't know. I'd like to say it's something I'm doing, but it's probably a little bit of luck as well. These people were, this couple were, are in a rental and not happy where they are and just ready to move. So they were motivated, and also, one of the parties was okay with the other one making the decisions. It's just very easygoing kind of couple, and so they were decisive, and
And everything went perfect.
well, it hasn't yet.
Okay. It's always something, right?
There's always time for it to go completely tits up.
Yeah.
And so we are, but so far so good. We're on track.
I love when you say tits up, because obviously I don't hear that very often down here. Do you know like what's the why behind that? I know it's like a big time saying in England, but like
I have no clue.
yeah, me neither.
Half the things I
always
say, I don't know what they mean. I'm assuming it's like because you've fallen back and you're.
I was thinking of like a dead body drowning type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, tits up.
Yeah.
So the transaction with these last people that you were making mention, just everything worked well. With them at least, and things went perfect. And
Yeah.
I want to touch just a little bit in general, not this specific transaction, but you've mentioned, there's always time for things to go tits up. Mm-hmm. Just figuring out more ways to say it so I can clip it. Based on conversations that you've had with other agents, and you might not know the answer to this, I'm just curious to get your response. Do you think that there ever comes a time in real estate where the whole like fear of things going tits up starts to subside a little bit? Like, do you feel better now when things kind of get a little wonky than you used to maybe 3 years ago? Or is it just, it's always like a hot potato type of thing?
I mean, I feel like it lessens,
Okay.
but it doesn't go because, I'm really invested in that transaction, working well. And so I just think, you become more familiar, and the more familiar, the less stressful it is, the more you're able to deal with it. But, I mean, it's still...
Numb.
numb to it all. It's still, it's still present, but just not as... It's not as, it doesn't have you in the fetal position like it may have done when you first start out.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and the fear of something going tits up never goes away.
No.
At least for me. And what's interesting is like, and I would envision that you can probably relate to this in different aspects of real estate versus lending. It's like, if everything's fantastic with the buyer's credit and, their income, and they're putting a large down payment down, and like everything's perfect, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the easiest transaction. Then usually I can count on either A, something's going to go wrong with like inspection / appraisal / something that I don't have control over, or B, they're going to be like, hey, we're just let you know, we're calling 900 lenders, right? And then the reverse of that is like if somebody's, got bad credit, not a lot of money to work with, there's gift funds involved, and there's all of this stuff on the lending side, that's where I'm like really keeping my eye on things. But that client is like overly loyal to me. Like, please, just, get this done for me.
Yeah.
And it's very unusual that like that A-paper client, large down payment. We actually had a really awesome transaction together. That was an example of like everything was perfect.
Yeah.
They were so
cool. Super cool couple. But no, I think,
maybe you are just lucky.
no, I mean, I've had my fair share.
I'll keep you around.
Yeah. You should.
I will.
But the thing is, there's so many people involved in the transaction.
Yeah.
And so if you have one weak link, then that's when the fear of it going tits up. Because, so whenever I'm working with clients, I'm like, I give them a list of preferred lenders. And you may make that cut. You may not. You may not.
Right.
I'm
Right.
just
It's okay. Yeah.
You're always on there. But, I've had situations where the lender, I've worked with the seller and the lender for the buyer. It was actually, I called you on that one.
Yeah.
Because I
Oh,
needed
the other
your
one.
advice. This is
Yeah.
a different one. And this was, a broker, a lending broker trying to, I don't know what was going on. But the point being, it was awful. And it was because we had one weak link. So the key thing is just to have everybody involved be really competent.
Unfortunately, and again, I've got more than enough experience, and I still haven't 100% figured out how to crack this code. But the lending part of things is the last thing that buyers and real estate agents, in my opinion, are like. Everybody thinks when they go into lending that the most important thing is like, okay, what's my rate? What's my payment going to be? And everything along those lines. And I'm not saying it isn't. But I can't tell you how many times I legitimately just got a phone call on Monday for a client that was buying up in Dallas that was referred to me from an agent down here, and they went with like some California broker, didn't know who they were. They were about $1,500 less expensive than me. It was, they're buying a $600,000 home. And they basically called and said, hey, we just closed. We closed 10 days late. Just wanted to let you know whenever there's a refinance opportunity, we want to reach out. And that's always like a feel good, but it's like, oh, cool. I still didn't like get that commission.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that when you say to people, hey, you may want to reconsider. Nobody believes you when you say that. And then more importantly, like people just get enthralled with the idea of the rate and the payment being somewhat lower, and everything else goes out the window.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
I even have situations where people will call me back and say, yeah, they were unable to honor what they told me I was going to get. They said the market moved. And, you're like, I'm sorry that happened to you. And they're like, but we had to close, and they sprung all of this on us last minute. There is no education or explaining that I can do to a client when I've had people send me like emails that aren't even like document attachments. They're just emails that say like literally typed out your rate, like 6%, your payment. And they'll send it to me and be like, hey, this is what this company's offering.
Yeah. I also think that the realtor needs to step in there and be like, this is really important that you pick a decent lender, a local lender, someone who knows what they're doing, and just give that guidance to.
It's even tough though for the agent because people just want to believe like I've got this really, really low rate or low cost, and unfortunately, it doesn't always come to fruition. And then when it happens, I'm getting a phone call with the pat on the back, which again feels good, but I feel like it is the one thing that people are like, it's a commodity. What's your rate? What's your closing costs?
Yeah, no, I can see how that's really tricky and frustrating. But, all we can do is just
try to educate, right?
Try and educate them and hope they take our advice. But, yeah, that's tricky. What I feel like I've learned over the years is to set boundaries. I didn't do that before. I was trying to fix
about it.
I call me anytime. Big mistake that was. I've got like 2 a.m. calls and, blowing up my phone. I'm on pretty much all the time, but boundaries do need to be set, and I'm trying to be better at that. But also just setting expectations. And I think the big thing for me was, I tried to fix everything, and I have tried to shield my clients from the pain that is involved in some of this process. And by doing so, it's actually like bitten me in the ass, because
I know exactly what you mean.
Rather than just being like, this is the situation, I'm just keeping you up front with what's going on, rather than try and shield them from it because I want their experience to be as pleasant as possible. And it's like, well, what, you didn't tell me this. You didn't inform me. You should have told me. So now I'm like, okay, this is a situation, and I keep them updated the whole way through. And I try not to try and be the one that has to fix everything, unless I can. Some things are just how they are. If the rates have changed, that's just how it is. Like, I can't. There's nothing I can do about that. But I was taking that personally. Sleepless nights over it. Like, what could I have done differently? And there was absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you sound like me. There's definitely some tactic in, what you do need to 100% mention right away versus, because let's face it, sometimes things iron themselves out.
Yeah.
And then I have definitely had a situation, this was years ago, where I was super upfront and honest about everything that was happening. And I said, I need a few additional documents, and it totally spooked the clients. And they ended up backing out of the deal. And a day or two later, we got everything put together, and they're like, no, we're good. And if I would have just shut my mouth, right? But then to your point, you don't want to get caught like, oh, well, why wouldn't you tell me this sooner? Yeah. Because as a lender, the line I always get anytime I get bad news is, how are we just now finding this out, right? And it's like, well, because we just now found it out. I mean, and that's the answer, right? Unless I knew about it.
And tried to fix it.
Yeah. So what I always do is I typically, for me at least, I have like a chain of command where I'll usually call like the buyer's agent first, walk everything through, then say, hey, I'm going to reach out to the buyer. And then we call like the listing agent last, or sometimes not at all, depending on if there's an opportunity to get it fixed. But there's some strategy to that.
Yeah, no, there definitely is. I mean, and I've been hit with that numerous times, so that's kind of a learning curve. And everybody's different, and some people really just want to be kept in the loop about every single thing, and some people are just like, why are you bothering me with this? Just like handle it. And so it's just trying to figure out how your clients are and what it is that they expect. And I feel like that's a conversation that should be had probably up front, which I didn't used to do. So
we are setting better boundaries.
Yes.
We are
trying to
being more, what would the word be? We're updating more. We're communicating a little more thoroughly.
Yes.
And what else?
And just being utterly fabulous.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 2 a.m. phone calls. What?
Okay, that's an exaggeration. It's not 2 a.m. because my phone's on silent, so I wouldn't hear it anyway. But it's like, this has happened. Okay, I probably shouldn't say if this is going on social media. But anyway, let me...
I mean, are people just like so worked up about something that they feel like the need to call you? Or, see, because I'm just like you. Sometimes I can take things a little personal, and I feel like sometimes it's usually a text message. Like, I got a text message last night from a client at 1 a.m. Now, my phone is on silent. I wake up very early, so I was up at 5:30, and I look at this and I'm thinking, why would somebody text me at 1 a.m? But I think that sometimes in clients' minds, that is if they don't do it right then and there, they're going to forget.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't think it's personal, but then at the same time, I don't know if you know this, but do you know how to send time-released text messages?
No.
I should probably show you. Like, Game Changer, I learned about it 4 or 5 years ago. It's like my favorite thing. So when I have that moment where I'm like, shit, I need to send this out, but it's like at an inappropriate time, I can time it to go out.
4 or 5 years you've known about this, and we're now just talking about it.
I'm so surprised you don't know about it. Well, so I'm an Android user. Bum.
Okay, so
right? So Android's had it for like 4 or 5 years, but Apple came out with it a year or two ago. And here's the other part that is a little frustrating for you, is you can send time-release text messages to other Apple users. Only.
Okay.
I can do it to anyone.
I mean, I only speak to people who have Apple.
Right.
So,
correct.
I mean, you're just fortunate that
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I'm like Beauty and the Beast, right? So that's one thing that I have tried to, not take personal, because one thing I identified last year, and I wish I would have like identified this way, way sooner. and you've like triggered me with this because I take things personal sometimes. And I've identified, especially in a real estate transaction, but in general, but more in a real estate transaction, the things that people do that on the surface and that I feel are, for lack of a better term, malicious, is legitimately just full blown, like either ignorance or like people just kind of black out when they're, under contract, or it's just everything is about them.
Yeah.
Everything. Oh, we're moving, we're doing this with inspections. Like I'm dealing with the client right now where it's a lot.
Yeah.
She is a lot. And you don't want to downplay their anxiety. But at the same time, it's like the level of anxiety that you're experiencing from purchasing a home, if everyone was like this, like no one would ever buy a home.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that. It's like they turn from being really wonderful people into like having some kind of personality bypass and just go crazy.
And then after closing, they're like
and
back.
they're fabulous again. Yeah, and I think that's something that we just need to remind ourselves. Like this is temporary. This will pass. This is a phase they're going through, and we are just like we take the brunt of it.
Yeah, I'm just embarrassed for people like that though, because for me, in this instance, with the one that I'm thinking of right now, this is somebody that I know fairly well. And the reason why...
Should we give her a shout out?
No, we should not. But years ago, I would have taken it somewhat personally because at the end of the day, a lot of the anxiety and the concerns on the surface for me would in the past feel like lack of trust.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you don't trust me? You don't think we have your best interest at heart? Like everybody's an enemy. At this moment. But
then do you start doubting yourself? Like if they go too far, it's like, oh my God, well maybe I'm missing something here. Like maybe I've like just miscommunicated, or do you ever get to that point where it's so full on that you're actually doubting? I've had a situation like that. Like I'm literally completely second guessing myself. Like I felt like it was a gaslighting situation. It was brutal. And so I would be speaking to my broker. I'm like, am I going mad? Like, is this? And they're like, no, you've got a crazy situation.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I've had that happen. They are definitely few and far between. And
thank God.
I feel like I have them more in lending than the real estate agents do, because the one thing that y'all have kind of going for you that we as lenders, I only get to physically see the client maybe once or twice. So I go to all of my closings. That's, I see them there. And then I encourage and try to do like my initial appointment at least via Zoom, because I can tell you right now that you mentioned there's a lot of facets in a real estate transaction, and I agree with you. And I find that buyers subconsciously want to have a punching bag, and it can't be their real estate agent because they have to see them, they have to talk to them, they've met them in person, they know them on a much more personal level. So it usually ends up being the lender or the insurance agent that really takes like a lot of, just kind of attitude. And I mention all of this because I'll show up at closings with clients that like, I haven't done anything wrong. They've just been kind of, snotty. And I meet them in person, and you can just see that moment where they're like, God, I was such an asshole throughout this entire transaction. And they kind of just, they feel like a little bit of shame. And I always look at it like, people are really mean to like the AT&T rep because they're probably in like Manila or something like that. But if you knew that AT&T rep was like somebody that you could bump into your local HEB at, you would be totally different.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I can see how that could be a problem for you.
But I don't understand why, like, I mean, I do understand. I just don't understand the blackout of why people want to make things harder.
I mean, they say moving is right up there with stressful as getting divorced.
Okay.
So I wonder if it's just, it's just some people like to micromanage. It's a massive deal. They want to make a certain amount of money, or they don't want to feel like they're overpaid. Everything is everything is relevant and explainable, I feel like. But I mean, I did a psychology degree, so I feel like I should be well prepped for this, and I'm not. Like, some people are just breeze through it, and other people it's the most stressful thing ever, and we end up being very much consumed by that. And we have our own shit going on. Oops.
You're fine. We swear on this podcast.
Okay. And outside of work, I have children, I have stuff going on, I have my own, but, it can be really all-consuming. But I think what makes it really wonderful and which makes, that I press on to the next transaction after having a shitty one is, the appreciation that I receive afterwards. When everyone's calmed down and their demons have left them and they're happy with everything, it's like, we really, really appreciate you. I've even been given gifts at closing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you?
Not enough. Just.
What are your thoughts on the possibility of the way things I don't even know how long it's been, but a lot of things get gamified, right? And what I mean by that is like you've got credit card points. Is a great example, right? Spend a bunch of money. Miles, miles for travel. You see, coupons. If you purchase at this time, you're going to get, spend this. There's a lot of, even social media. How many likes can you get? How many views can you get? There's a lot of things are very gamified. And I sometimes think that people enjoy that, or at least get competitive enough that they feel like they need to compete. Is it possible that people sometimes gamify real estate? Where it's like, okay, I'm buying a home, and they're like, I've got to make sure I get the very best deal. I had a client of mine that was, I can't remember where she was from, but she was not from the U.S. And she was just totally breaking my balls left and right about rates and payments, and we weren't even under contract. Like, she would call me once a week and want to know where rates were, and just, we would go through these same scenarios and run what if scenarios, and it got to the point where I called her out and I said, what's going on? Like, why are we doing this? And she admitted to me that when she purchased this property, she knew that her father and her family were going to grill her on the interest rate that she got, on the price that she got for the home. And in the reality of things, it wasn't that big of a concern for her. She's like, I'm not like trying to save like $20 a month or, $1,000 off the purchase price. But if I don't have all my ducks in a row after this purchase, like, my family will never like let me live it down. Isn't that interesting?
God, imagine having a family like that. I'd be like, it's none of your business what I'm paying.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm getting at, though, is like clearly the family has gamified, like everything's got to be a deal. And, I've said this probably 100 times on this podcast. If you go into like a party and you say, hey, raise your hand if you know anything about cars, right? If like half the room raises their hand, if you go to the people who don't, like, you don't know anything about cars, and there's people that will say, I don't know how to change oil. I barely know how to drive the thing. There is no shame in that. But if you go to a party and say, hey, who knows about real estate? Like 9 out of 10 hands are going to get raised, whether they do or they don't. And that one person, when you're like, what, you don't know anything about real estate? Like, all 9 of those people will be like, let me tell you. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I've never even thought about that, to be honest with you.
There's nothing. Think about it. Cars, even finance, like stock markets. People will admit they have no clue what is going on. But you talk about real estate, everybody knows, and if they don't, they're embarrassed.
Yeah, you have a good point. I've never really thought about that. I guess it's just, to get on the property ladder is a big deal, and I wonder if there's some kind of status attached to that. Having a car you can get at 16, which, by the way, I think is way too early in this country.
Agreed. But who's going to drive the drunk parents around? That was a joke.
The drunk parents, of course.
Cut. Right.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Real estate is massive. I have friends of mine that have no interest in moving, but not all they do, but for a lot of what they do is just on Zillow.
Yep.
Trawling. I mean, they know the neighborhood better than I know.
You call them for comps.
I mean, they should start doing that, honestly. Like, that is all they do. They're like, do you know that house down there? So for this, I'm like, God, if I could do that for every single house, like, but they are on it. And so it's just, I think it's just fascinating.
It's just of interest.
Yeah.
So the whole reason I'm bringing all of this up is like the stresses of buying and selling and, you know, kind of, as you put it, the psychology. So I think that's one piece of it. I think that real estate, for one reason or another, is gamified. Because, again, going back to the other things, like I've watched people beat their chest and be like, oh, yeah, we're going on vacation, paid for it in miles. Like I'm supposed to be impressed, right? Like I'm supposed to be impressed that your vacation, like flight, and like we could have done without that.
Yeah, I would have felt that wouldn't be something to be impressed by.
Oh, my God, I can't get over how many people will like talk about miles. And
surely it's like I paid for it in cash is more impressive than I got it in miles because I put a lot of stuff on my credit card.
Or you know how many women I've seen that'll do things like, oh my God, that's a beautiful like Louis Vuitton bag. And they'll be like, yeah, I got this for 20% off. Right? And that's like a flex. Yeah. Where at the same time, it's like, you just bought an overpriced handbag. Let's just start there. Right?
Yeah.
So the gamification is what I think makes people stressed in real estate. And then the second piece of it, and I kind of fall in this camp as like if I were buying or selling, I follow a schedule like crazy. Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, as somebody who is doing meetings and meeting with people, like my schedule is even somewhat more fluid than most. Can you imagine if you had like a 9-to-5 job and you knew where you were going to be like at every moment of the day? You knew what time you were picking your kids up. Mm-hmm. You knew what time you were going to be at lunch. Like you take that person whose life is just completely scheduled, mm-hmm. and you add a little bit of extra, like we're going to need these documents, we're going to have an inspection done on the property, give me your credit card information for an appraisal. I mean, that's like, right?
Because you're throwing them off their schedule without
yeah.
ask. Yeah.
I mean, it's like taking your dog and, you know, putting like my dog, like I see these other dogs at bars. I'll take my dog to like a bar. I have a beautiful Doberman Pinscher. She gets so much attention. But if we go to like a bar mm-hmm. and we're sitting there and having a cocktail, mm-hmm. the entire time she's looking at us like, what the fuck are we doing? Why am I here?
Yeah, that's why I never take my dog to a bar.
We don't either. But I look at these other dogs and like, you know, some of them, yeah, they're just chilling. Some of them seem to have the same look that my dog does. But I guess what I'm getting at is like if I could be at my house sitting at a table, having a cocktail, and my dog doesn't care. So again, moving just any little bit, and she's like,
it's not familiar anymore, and so there's anxiety. Okay, I need to change subject. Get back to your dog. Did you put the pegs in your dog's ears?
There's no pegs. So
what is it? Like a lollipop stick, and then it tapes it. So
that's after the surgery. So when the dog is born, I mean, they dock the tail and they crop the ears. And then for about 8 to, depending on, you know, I've gotten really good. I'm on my 4th Doberman Pinscher. Mm-hmm. Depending on how good you get at the taping. So like when you see those posts, all it is just like a little piece of styrofoam and then they just stay posted up while the ears heal.
Oh, okay.
It's not like a surgery where they're like putting posts inside of a dog's like flesh or something like that.
No, I didn't think that. I just thought that they had to be there for like 6 months to a year.
No, okay. No. The dog that I have now, her name is Pony. She just turned 11 on the 5th, which is very, very old for a Doberman Pinscher. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe she's still alive, to be quite honest.
Well,
and she's in good health.
Little dogs live a long time, though, don't they?
This is a Doberman Pinscher.
Oh, I'm thinking of the miniature one.
No. Okay. She's like 80 pounds.
Okay.
And she's very tall. I mean, she could rest her head on this table. But the taping itself, like there's definitely a technique to it to where if you get good at it, I think we had her ears taped for maybe 5 weeks. And, you know, you just change them like every 3 days. And they look kind of cute. They're little puppies. I
had no clue about that. A friend had one. And I'm like, what have you done to the ears? And they're like, yeah, we have to do this so that they stick up.
Yeah. It's good luck.
So when I got my dog,
What kind of dog are we talking about?
I've got a mini golden doodle.
Okay.
I did not want a dog.
What makes it mini? So you've got a doodle and like a miniature Poodle?
Poodle, I suppose, yeah.
Okay.
He's £18. I didn't want a dog. My kids really wanted one, and their dad, my ex-husband, was not going to get one. So I feel like I should get a dog. Okay, so I hate to admit this, but it's true. I researched what dog I could get with the shortest lifespan.
A Great Dane.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, bloody hell, I don't want a Great Dane. So I end up getting a doodle, a small one that's probably going to be around for 18 years.
They're called a Great Dane the heartbreak breed.
Oh, really? What do they live to, like 8 or something?
7 or 8. And then, when the dogs are born, a lot of them can be born with kind of like a hereditary liver disease that you can't really test for it.
Okay.
And so, you have like 8 to 12 dogs in a litter, and at least 1 or 2 of them is probably not going to make it past 3.
Really? Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, now that I've got him, I kind of want him to stick around. I do want him to stick around.
He warmed up. He warmed up too.
He's 5. It took a while.
What's his name?
Percy.
Percy and Pony.
Percy and Pony. His full name is Percival Montgomery de Bracy. He's very regal.
Wow, that is regal.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that name?
It's actually my granddad's name.
Oh, no way.
But not really. My granddad told everyone that was his name, but his name was just Percy.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not really sure the story behind that, but
boy,
I took it.
You got an interesting family.
Dysfunctional. Yeah.
So Gemma loves dogs.
Love them. Love them.
Dog lover here.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are, thinking, I want to know more about Gemma, maybe we'll use her to sell our home. Dog lover.
Dog lover.
Any other pets?
No.
Okay. Moving away from dogs and back to real estate.
Okay. Yeah, that's why we're here.
Unless there's something else you want to cover.
No, that was it. That was just...
What? I got 2 questions, but we'll start with the first one. What's the biggest pain point right now for you? Because today's the 7th?
Yes.
So we've got January 7th, 2025. People have their resolutions and everything along those lines. What's the biggest pain point for you career-wise right now that you're trying to solve? Other than I want more clients.
Let me think about this.
It's a tough one, huh?
It is a tough one.
Most agents have like 900 pain points they're able to rattle off. So I think it's just luck, Gemma. I think you are the lucky agent that
give me an example
has the
of
best
someone
clients.
else's pain point.
So some people are talking about things as far as like budgeting. Other agents that I've talked to have talked about things as far as like their tech or their social media or, all of the things that are designed to generate new business. But like, what is something that you want to do or that you are doing and having trouble with as far as generating new business?
I think probably just being consistent.
Okay. Are you one of those agents that when they have like a deal working, they focus on that only and then don't focus on generating new business for a little while?
No, I'm always... I always have balls in the air. What's the guy on Selling Sunset or whatever?
That's such an old saying.
Is it Serpent? What's that guy's name?
Oh, Ryan Serhant?
Yeah, I'm listening to his book actually.
I read it.
Oh, did you? I never
was
normally listen to anything like that, but someone recommended it and I quite like it. But he's like, yeah, you just got to have loads of balls in the air, and I feel like I always do.
And then, what is the full saying? You've got ball, and then like 3 of them are glass, 2 of them are rubber.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't get that far.
You didn't make it that far?
I'm still on the first chapter.
So the glass ones are like your family, right? Your health. Okay, you can't drop those.
No, but this is not what he was talking about.
Oh, okay.
He was talking about in terms of having just loads of different deals and things in the pipeline.
I see. Okay.
So I think for me, it's just being consistent with my action plan for 2025, which is to meet more people, be in touch with more people.
Is there anything in your 2025 action plan that is different than what you were doing in 2024?
Yeah, I'm farming now. I didn't farm before. It's a new thing for me.
You're picking like a specific area that you're trying to really be the mayor of?
So every month a postcard goes out. And I've always felt that was probably the biggest waste of money. But I'm trying that because apparently if you're consistent with it, it could hit. In actual fact,
Are you going to be doing open houses in the area?
I am going to be doing open houses. Oh yeah, that's a new thing. I'm going to be doing open houses. I am going to learn to love an open house.
Invite me. I'll come and
Okay.
I'll come and join you and say hello. I won't
right.
stay for the whole thing.
No, you're welcome to.
Lenders are ick. Trust me. I'll come.
Well, pretend that you're some
that's what I
minor
mean.
celebrity.
No,
or something.
I'll pretend like I'm your assistant. I'll bring you like whatever you want. We'll get you some Red Bull or some coffee or something like that.
Champagne.
I'll pop in. We'll put the Rocky theme song on for a minute, get you all jazzed up, and then like, all right, I'm out of here.
Do some burpees.
Yeah,
Run around
whatever
the
you
block.
need.
Okay.
Whatever
right.
you need. That's
sounds
what
like
I'm
a
here
plan.
for.
Yeah, we should totally do that.
Are you going to do like door knocking when you do the open houses?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
What about circle prospecting after the house sells?
As in sending out flyers after they've sold, you mean?
Well, so what I know agents are doing is so they're farming in an area.
Yeah.
And then ideally the listing that they would have would be your listing. But if it's not, maybe you can find somebody who's,
in that area
on your team. And when that home sells, you're going to be connecting with other homes that are similar to that and saying, hey, I'm Gemma Willans. I just sold this house over here. And we have a handful of additional buyers that wanted this property, but only one person can get it. Do you know anyone in the neighborhood that is interested in selling?
I love that. No, I'm not going to do. Haven't been doing that, but I shall. I shall add that.
And then you'll get to meet some more people.
Yeah.
Right, and then you're providing value because you're not asking them if they want to sell because that's ick.
Just if they know of anyone that wants to sell. That's a good idea.
Right.
I shall add that into my plan. God, that's another thing I have to do now.
More planning.
Yeah.
I get it. It never ends.
Never ends. What I need to do is time blocking.
Okay.
Do you time block?
Yes, but
you also get up at 5:30. I think that's really helpful. I need to start doing that.
I did not start getting up early until my late 20s, and it was an absolute game changer. And the reason being was working out is like a big thing for me, right? Like not like I know I don't look like I work out, but it's mainly for my head, my mind. And
wait, do you want me to compliment you now?
No, please don't. I'm wearing 3 layers right now.
Okay.
It's cold. Look at this. 1,
here I am.
2,
it's not
3.
cold at all.
Yeah,
It's
when
actually
you
really
walked
warm.
in, I was like, "You're crazy." And I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, but that's 5 years ago, and I've turned into a baby. But I used to always try to, work out after work, and I would make it, and I would do those things. But I found that if I get up early and I do my workout and do kind of like all of the stuff that I don't want to do first thing in the morning, one of two things happens. Either A, I have everything that's really like kind of that I don't want to do done. And so I either have like a really regular day, which is easy to deal with.
Yeah.
But if shit hits the fan, I'm not like backed up.
Yeah.
Right? So again, best case scenario, everything goes as planned, but I've already handled all like the really hard stuff. So again, the times that I'm like thankful for getting up early and knocking those things out is when like I have to pivot and handle like a problem or maybe maybe on the bright side, maybe a big opportunity presents itself and I can kind of drop what I'm doing, like a podcast with Gemma, right? Had to move a lot of stuff around. It was a big deal.
I mean, I am a big deal.
I just said that. I
I'm
just said that.
clarifying that.
No, you're right.
So that is actually part of my resolution.
Want to know how I did it?
What?
Started getting up early.
You started going to bed early.
Wrong. So I actually heard this on a book that I read. This is so long ago.
What book was it?
That's why I said it was so long ago. I was 28 and I'm 40 now, so it was 12 years ago. But I remember.
You're only 40. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I remember when the guy was saying, when you're trying to change your schedule as far as waking up early in the morning, everybody thinks exactly what you just said. I need to go to bed earlier, but it is impossible to go to bed when you're not tired. It's impossible. You can't do it, right?
Without
you
some
can't
kind of
force
help.
right. You cannot force yourself to sleep. But what you can do is you can force yourself to wake up, right? It is completely 100% doable to, even though you might not want to, you force yourself to wake up. And if you're forcing yourself to wake up every morning, you will eventually, after a few days, you will be tired enough to go to bed at that bedtime that you kind of plan. But everybody does it the other way around.
Yeah.
They're like, if I want to get up at 5, I know I have to go to bed at 9.
Yeah.
And then they go to bed at 9 and they lay in bed and they get on their phone and they doom scroll till like 11:30, right?
Yeah, so
and then next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and you're like,
snoozing the alarm.
right. And you're like, I only slept for like 5 hours. I can't do this. So it's like, wake yourself. If it's 5 a.m. is the goal or 6 a.m., it's like wake up at 6. And that's what I do is like the alarm goes off. I don't make any concessions. I literally will turn and put my feet on the ground and I will just sit there sometimes for like a minute and just get up. But now, I mean, I don't do that anymore. I used to.
So what time do you get up?
My alarm goes off at 5:15 and I'm usually up between 5:30 and 5:45.
And now what time do you go to sleep?
9:30. Like last night I stayed up late and I was up till like 9:38.
9:38. Yeah. So that is part of what I'm doing this year. I'm going to get up at 5:30. It hasn't started yet, but that is my goal.
You can do it.
Because I'm the same way. I need to work out in the mornings. I can do it in the afternoon, but it's a poor effort if I even make it.
I know exactly what you mean.
So
Where do you work out? Like, is it like a local gym or?
Yeah, a couple of places. I
Okay.
go to Solid Core, if you've ever heard of that. I do spin classes, and I have just started doing the gym with my boyfriend who does weights because apparently it's really important to get muscle. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's boring as hell.
Especially as we age, yeah.
So in order to get any one of those 3 in, I need to get up earlier because I'm way more productive in the morning. By about 4 o'clock, I'm like a spaz. Like I feel like I can't do anything. And so I just need to crank it all out in the morning.
You know what's amazing is being done with your day and not like, it's not like, oh, I have to go to the gym now. Like, you know what the least favorite part of my day is now since I started waking up in the morning? My partner makes fun of me for this. My least favorite part is I get home and I have to unpack my gym clothes and then I have to, put all of like my stuff away, my dress shoes and everything. And then I repack my gym clothes for the my dress clothes for the following day. Cause I get in gym clothes and then I, shower here. And that part of my day, I just like loathe it because I'm home and all I want to do is be done.
I mean, that must take you 5 minutes though, to be fair.
15.
Okay.
But yes.
I feel like you could shorten that time. You could get a bit more.
I could maybe like pre-pack some things, but you know, you never know what you
Why
want.
don't you leave a whole load of clothes here?
I've thought about it, but then I just feel like this is going to sound really light in the loafers. Like, I don't know what I want to wear right away. Depends on my mood. Okay.
I love that you admit that.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. I don't want to, I look at my schedule. I see who I'm going to meet.
Yeah.
Like this morning, I had a presentation and a meeting that I was doing with the real estate team in the morning. So I put a tie on and I did all of that. Where yesterday, I didn't have any appointments. So I wore like a casual sweater and jeans.
Yeah.
I just never know.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough.
I think as a woman, you can.
Yeah. Although I would rather just have all my clothes laid out for me by someone else and I just put them on.
But what if you're just not feeling it?
Well, I just don't want to have to make the decisions in the morning. I'm like, you just see my bedroom, it's like clothes strewn all over the place because I'm like, I don't know what to wear.
What's your favorite color to wear for professional clothes?
Black or this
like navy?
blue. Yeah.
Okay. What about for like casual clothes?
Black or this color.
Okay. Well, maybe you could pull it off then. When I'm wearing dress clothes, I like to wear. I never wear black, and so today that I'm like wearing black is unusual. But I felt like because it was cold, and I'm wearing black shoes, I feel like black is more of like a wintertime thing. That's why I went for it. But I prefer to wear like blues. I really love the color purple.
Yeah.
So
do you?
I do. I wear a lot of purple, and for casual stuff, I'm like gray and blue jeans, gray and blue jeans.
Yeah, I wear a lot of grey as well. Grey and brown. Never used to wear brown.
I love brown. It's my favorite. I have so many boots, brown boots. It's my thing.
Yeah, you got cowboy boots.
Yeah.
You do.
Of course. Quite a few pairs.
But you're not Texan.
When I was up in Cleveland, I was always a boot wearer, but you cannot get away with wearing Western boots in Ohio. But like with the snow and everything, so I would always wear like leather boots, like 3/4 zip or Chelsea boots.
So Western boot is like what I call a cowboy boot.
Yes.
Okay.
And so when I came down here, it was like I could come out of the boot closet.
Why can't you wear Western boots up there?
Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, because they're all leather sole, and the salt that's on the roads and everything will just like
You'll slip.
well, you'll slip. It'll eat. It literally eats the leather, and there's just nothing functional about a cowboy boot in Ohio.
Right.
Right. Now, can you wear them? Like, sure, but people are going to look at you like, why are you wearing?
Yeah. What's going on with this guy?
Right. So when I came down to Texas, I was like, I think I can pull this off. And I was really excited to do so. So, yeah, I still wear like regular boots, but yeah, I'll definitely wear a pair of cowboy boots.
And do you wear cowboy boots with trousers or just jeans?
Depends. I mean, sometimes I'll even wear them with suits.
Oh, yeah, I like that look.
Mm-hmm.
I had cowboy boots when I lived in London.
Yeah. You don't have any. What about little booties? You don't wear I see all the women wearing like the cowboy, the booties.
No.
Like the short
cowboy boots.
Yeah.
No.
I just love shoes.
I have high cowboy boots, but okay, there's a funny story about my cowboy boots.
Mm-hmm.
When I first moved here, I went to the Coyote Ugly Bar on 6th
Oh, yeah.
Street. And there was a
Real
girl,
classy.
I know, so classy. And there was a girl dancing on the bar who worked there, and she had these really cool boots on. And so I asked her where she got them from. And then the next day, I went out and I bought those same boots. And I
Yeah.
get so many comments on those boots.
Allen's boots. Did you go to Allen's?
Cavender's or something?
Cavender's
Yeah.
Boot City.
Yeah. And I picked them up there. But yeah, I get a lot of comments on those boots, and that's the story behind them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Gemma, what else do we need to know? I know you've been having so much fun. We've been over an hour now.
Oh God! What utter boring content this is for somebody.
No, you'll
Listen
see.
to me
We'll clip it
waffling
out.
on.
You're good. We've learned a lot about you. What else do we need to know? Anything that we need to know as far as like buyers, sellers, stuff you're looking to do? We've talked about ways that you're trying to continue to build the business. Anything we missed? What do you want your fans to know?
That I'm here for you.
She's here for you.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I just appreciate anyone who's willing to let me help them through one of the sometimes the most challenging experiences and somewhat scary to some people, biggest financial decisions. Like, that's kind of an honor to be part of that. And so I'm grateful for that.
you've done quite a few transactions, so we know you've got the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I always tell agents, you can't just do one podcast because the first podcast is just getting to know you. And then we got to have you on and at least call it 4, 6, 8 weeks later.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
I want to talk more about some specifics in regards to the market, what you're seeing.
Okay.
It's early now in 25, but I would love to get your take on, just some of the things that you're seeing in the market and some of the advice that you're giving to your buyers and sellers that could be relevant that the people need to know.
People need to know. I'm down for that.
All right.
Sign me up.
I will. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Go ahead.
In the meantime, I shall practice in front of a mirror so that I know what I'm talking about. I'm just kidding.
I think you'll do just fine. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome.